I might just have to get a little bit harder with this. Hold on. Here it comes. One baby to another says I'm lucky to have met you. Right on. There's Gio with his camera on. I need to switch it out of switch it to speaker view. Now it does it. You were just featured on my YouTube, Gio. Everybody saw your face. You're famous now. Okay. Everybody on YouTube, here's the Zoom link if you want to join Zoom. US/J/704. Is it hyperlink? No. Okay. HTTP:// US/. Man, I'm getting really good at this. Boom. There it is. All right. The business of spirituality. Let's get the beats on the outside so you know I'm spiritual. We'll go with one final hella spiritual song before we get started here. Right on, baby. Right on. Oh, yeah. Let me get it started. Talk my shit down. Fast nigga, I'm a fraternity. I'm a big stepper. I'm a big stepper. All y'all rock is designer. Bitches throw pussies at me. All I rock is vaginas. I just be laid back. All I got is recliners. I wouldn't join the neighbor shit. All I got is Rihanna. You jive turkeys is frivolous. You jive turkeys is frivolous. I'm a grillin' it. I ain't feeling it. I'm a pip in the night. He ain't glistening. I'll be in your kitchen making grits and putting dick in your wife. All right, if somebody's constantly talking to you like you're stupid and you don't know what you're doing, very negative in every way, how can you reclaim your power against that person in the moment without losing your cool? Well, let's look at that, because if you lost your cool and you need to reclaim your power, or let's say if you need to reclaim your power, then you lost your cool, because your cool is in your power. So there's no reclaiming your power. You just can't lose your power. So sooner in interaction, if somebody's constantly talking to you like you're stupid, it must be sooner that it's brought to their attention in a way that cannot be refuted. And you need a third person there, so that otherwise it becomes just an argument back and forth. And if there's not a third person, then you need to bring it in as an idea. Like if anybody heard you talking to me like that, it would be obvious. So I bring in a third opinion through the communication. And people don't talk to me like I'm stupid. But if they're very negative, then I make light of how they're being negative in an obvious way. Like, you are just like the most negative person alive, aren't you? Like, I'm gonna get you a trophy for being Miss Negative. You are just, it's impressive, really. I didn't know that it was below sub-zero. You're like below, you're so negative. And if they don't snap out in some way, then, and they attack you, then they're, whatever, then you need to remove yourself. So that's what I think about it. If they do attack you in some way, like, that's where you remove yourself. If they don't, they'll be like, what do you mean? Or, yeah, I know this. And then it'll break through the shroud a little bit and the communication will get more real if you do that. Yes, they would attack. If they would attack, then you are too far along in the conflict. You're deeper in the conversation than you think. So you need to catch it sooner, because first of all, like, you shouldn't be in a communication with somebody that they could attack like that. Unless you're willing to confront the attack. And if that's what you're doing, then that's what you're doing. And then the attack needs to be very, like, verbal. It can't be like with a guy, obviously, or anybody that you think is going to get physical with you, because then you see you're way far along. You're too far into the conflict before you like start handling it. You got to handle things sooner. The first sign of negativity, or talking down to you, or talking like you're stupid, like, no, it's not accepted. Now, you might lose your job, like if that's somebody that's like employing you or something, but in social relationships, I wouldn't tolerate it, not even a bit. I got in a conflict with Fernando yesterday. because it was one little thing was said, one little thing of sarcasm on a text message, a text conflict. And no, I don't tolerate a single bit of it. Oh, well, that's when you see, that's different. See, she sends me a private message about who it is. When you say if somebody, that's different than, what you named who that person is, because that might not be somebody that you can just like, it's not just a somebody. So you call out the truth. You call out the truth and you don't stop naming the truth, as long as it doesn't put you in harm. So if somebody you can't get away from them, they're talking negatively or this or that in a toxic way, everybody should know about it. It shouldn't be hidden. And if they don't trust you or don't believe you, or they attack you for saying that, then you just keep speaking the truth. And how do you do it without losing your cool? Is you're married to the truth. So it's unreasonable that you would never lose your cool if somebody's like yelling and spitting in your face, right? And so, but in your own ways, as safely as possible, you call out the truth and name it what it is. And the less emotional you are, the more accurate you'll be, and the more people will believe you then, because it won't be all emotionally charged. And so that's on you to, do that and persist with that. And eventually, they'll either have to kill you or the truth will have to be seen, because it'll just make too much sense for too long that you're not emotional about it and that you've been consistent with your opinion about things, and the truth will be revealed. So that's just what it is. All right. So what are we doing? Business and spirituality. Here we go. We're going to go. Everybody excited? I know I am. We got all kinds of people on. It's exciting. Mo, I want some sample. Buy some weed from you, bro. Massive grower up north. Fucking nice. Connection's unstable, so you just got to comment if it's like cutting. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Enlightened Masculinity Podcast. This is the business of spirituality. I'm your host, Yogi Chris, PhD, founder of Ninth Limb Yoga, and obviously the most humble man on planet Earth. Zero ego here. And I'm also the director of operations at Base One Temple, which is where I'm coming to you from in San Jose, California. So you can check me out at ninthlimb.com or imcbase1.com. And those should be linked in the bio for this also, or whatever the description for this. If you're following this on any of the channels, you should like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. That's how it goes up in review. And let's continue. So the business of spirituality, right? I came across the idea a while ago, this word called Pantheism, where essentially everything is an expression of the divine. So your lover is an expression of the divine. Your hater is an expression of the divine. The fucking concrete is an expression of the divine. The walls here are an expression of the divine. Like everything, there's nothing that's not divine. That was like the idea of Pantheism, because God is everywhere. So there's nowhere that God is not. So then everything is like kind of a piece of God, you could say, or like kind of a perspective from God. And when you look at if you look at your life this way, maybe you'll come to the conclusion like I did, that no moment is not spiritual. Every moment is just as spiritual as every other moment. It's just how much presence you're bringing to it. And you may be measuring the wrong thing. You may be measuring like bliss or how good you feel as a measurement of how spiritual it is. There is a bliss that comes from like some awe-inspiring insight, or some like, fabulous fucking innovation, or, or whatever, realization. But, so that's a profound moment that can help many people, but it's not less or more spiritual. And that insight or whatever was always available. The invention of the physics of flight or whatever, or the physics of electromagnetism or whatever, those were always available. It's just human knowledge had to build to a certain point that then people had the symbols and everything and the fundamental laws to work with. So it's an accumulative thing. And so that external thing is not the measurement of how spiritual the moment is, unless we're thinking of like the evolution of the organism. This is a very grand perspective. The evolution of the species, or the evolution of the organism, is to, let's say, like a God form. And as we keep evolving for thousands and millions and hundreds of millions of years, and we get off the planet and we figure out laws of, now we don't think that we can break the speed of light, but we used to not think we could break the speed of sound. And we didn't have the physics to break the speed of sound, but we developed it by seeing how nature works and into a cell phone and radio towers. And so I can transmit my image and my ideas through space, whereas 1,000 years ago, all the same materials were available, but not the information to put it together right. And so there's an evolution here of orderliness happening, and all moments are spiritual along that process of evolution. No moment is not. Now, the business of spirituality then becomes really this, almost you could say, the spirituality of your business. Whatever you're doing is a spiritual activity. Right now you're listening. Right now I'm talking. This is a spiritual activity because it's you, your life, this precious life that you have. Momento, Mori. You don't know when you're going to die. Amor, Fati. You were born to some parents that you didn't choose. And for most of your upbringing, you didn't make a lot of choices. It was made for you. And you were told that you couldn't make a choice, really. And you were coerced into that. So Amor, Fati, you have now a subconscious mind and a pattern and a life history that you didn't have a lot of control over. And it has a lot of bearing on how you perceive things and how you react to things and the decisions you're making on so many levels that you're not even aware you're making decisions. Amor, Fati, that's your fate. Love thy fate. And you got to make some money. You got to make some motherfucking money. You got to provide for yourself and your family. Because how spiritual is it to sacrifice yourself? To not, now, if you're one of those people that, explore the depths of fasting and minimalism and simplicity, and you extract wisdom from that experience, then that's powerful, and if you're just on your journey to try to do that, and that's your spiritual journey, then that's great. But that's not what I'm doing. I can respect that as like a thing to extract the nectar from the universe. It's a discipline. It's a spiritual practice. But I like being able to take care of people. I like being able to be generous. I like being able to donate to homeless people. I like being able to take a trip for a family event if they need me to, and not having to worry about it. I like what money can do as a representation of what I do. I accumulate the money as a representation of the value that I give to people. Yeah, sir, some people maybe make money by doing corrupt things or evil, bad things. Spirituality is in those moments too. God is allowing those moments too. And it's, anyway, that's, I don't want to get over there. So what was I saying? The moment, the money represents what the value that I give to people. And if I give more goodness, give more value to people, goodness needs to be survival value. Goodness could be in the form of emotions. You can give people good feelings, but then are they paying you for it? Or what's the reciprocation for it? Because you may be sacrificing yourself for that to make other people well. Now, if you're in a family or a tribe and them feeling well feeds back into the family or tribe, then that may be good. Then there is an exchange. And so when we think of exchange, it's a flow of energy back and forth, and money helps facilitate things. It's an intermediary. It's a medium that goes in between the flow of energy. So I did some energy and I got paid for it. And now I take the money and I go and pay for someone else to do energy. And so it's this token. And the spirituality of business, or the business of spirituality, it is a slight difference. So the spirituality of business would be making your life and your business and what brings in the revenue so that you can take care of things. You make it spiritual, where it could be as mundane as you neglect it. You could let it be mundane. You could live from birth to death and everything and have no spiritual moments. Of course, when you die, you'll have a spiritual moment, but because there's truth in that we would be ignorant of. Or you can make it spiritual for yourself by seeing the infinite possibilities in how you could be, that you are much bigger than your name, your identity, your life history, even right now, your goals could expand. They could go laterally. They could become more colorful, more luxurious, more prestigious. They could be more aesthetic. There's infinite possibilities that you could explore with your energy, with your posture, with your communication, with whatever you do with life, and your ability to, or in your practice of going outside of. It doesn't mean you have to become some oddball or so strange. It's the creativity. Your ability to create is your divine right, really. They take it away from you by brainwashing you. And they make you into a kind of biological robot. And that's kind of what the vaccines and everything is part of that. And the mass media is part of that. And so your creativity that you bring to your life and the reverence that you bring to the experience of living and every experience that comes with it, reverence. So it's a state of like awe, of inspiration, of gratitude. It makes every moment spiritual. So that would be the spirituality of business while you live, and then see that you are, of all the infinite ways of being, of all the creative ways that you could stretch your activities, are you surviving better? The game here is to survive and replicate. Survive and replicate is the game of this virtual reality. Press power on, game loading, game about to start. Okay, go. Survive and replicate is the game. It's not sit and do nothing. It's now you could play like a Sims game or something, and you go and you make a home over here and you settle and you try to grow and expand. But see, it's still survive and replicate, survive better, make the home better, make it more safe, more powerful, and enhance your connections with other men, with other women, whatever it is. What the game, we could go to social dynamics. But now flipping. So that's the spirituality of business. Now the business of spirituality is like what I'm doing now. I am making a life and a career off of talking about spirituality, which I include relationships. I include mind control, hypnosis, communication. I think that's all very related. I think that aliens is part of it. I think that marijuana consumption is part of it. I think that yoga is part of it. I think that paying taxes is part of it, even because to understand all of that, it all works together in a common universe here, now, where I am. And it all makes sense. It's all interwoven in a bunch of quantum entanglements of ideas and behaviors that really are channelized in my nervous system and in the thought patterns of everyone around me that maybe expects me to be a certain way or talk, so there's some imposition of people expecting you and giving you wrong reactions that are anti-survival reactions. So they emotionally try to manipulate or move you into being a way, whether they're conscious of it or not. Maybe try kind of makes it sound like they're conscious of it. They may or may not be conscious of it. And why is that important? Because that's how you break free of the game, by seeing the game for what it is. It's a survival and replication, and everybody's acting in a way that's in their self-interest. Even if it's in your interest, even if they tell you it's in your interest, somehow they have a self-interest in mind. And if they don't, then I can't invest in that person because my investment would be given to someone else. They don't have a loyalty. So within a loyalty, then they benefit. And so there's their benefit from, giving me the energy. So we exchange. Right. But that's part of the game, because the spirit could enjoy any experience, the experience of betrayal, the experience of being alone, the experience of surviving poorly, of nearly dying or even dying. The spirit can enjoy it. The mind resists it because it thinks it should be different. Why? Why do you think the way you think? Do you examine every question fresh, new, like you've never thought of it before, like you don't have an answer so fast? Do you not access a bunch of files to come up with answers really fast? Are you really, living so organically? And now there's a reason for the subconscious is a survival machine. So it patterns things so that we don't have to rethink all the decisions. We would get ahead of our competitors if we've already worked out the solutions given the same conditions. But it's anti-survival when we apply the solutions from a different set of conditions to the current conditions. It's more random. There's more things to chance. And so discernment is very important in this game. So discipline helps bring us discernment. Discernment blossoms within us when we have disciplines that we stick to. And then when we have a teacher that can, so we're not just reinventing things. But because if we are reinventing things, not all disciplines are made the same. Some are better than others. So you could be spiraling off into a kind of wayward existence. Imagine the witch that's in the woods by herself practicing witchcraft. Maybe she's very, very powerful, but she's like totally anti-survival on group dynamics or family dynamics. Like she can't get along with other people. But her first dynamic of personal survival is very strong. But there's a limit. The lone wolf is never as strong as the pack, is never as strong as the whole jungle. And the whole jungle isn't as strong as a single human with a nuclear weapon. And the evolution of the spirit here is at a power that is the result of survival and replication. And the creativity that we exuded through our brain and our brain growth to beat our competitors at survival and replicating. And so we in IMC Nation, we're at the forefront of that evolution because the game of survival in terms of money and financial gain is definitely a corrupt system. It's definitely an enslaving system, and it's but that is the medium of exchange. And what am I going to go? Bitcoin, gold, or whatever? I'm going to resist it? No, I'll play the game. But there's other things, like I want that. I'll definitely go that. But how do you make the most money? How do the richest people, like go to the top richest people, and you get the good guys that are fighting the bad guys for control of the planet. And, so I'm going for that. But there's this other thing that makes the art of living very satisfying, and replication, that the survival is there to protect the vehicle of replication and the product of replication. So what happens is the object of replication, or the vehicle, the female, is a reflection of his survival value. And so we hijack the consciousness of everyone around us with our replication value. They assume a certain survival value on us. And, so that's just me going into that a little bit. I don't know where I was tying it back around for the business of spirituality. The business of spirituality is that this is a game. You are a spirit in a virtual reality playing survival and replication. And you're growing with your brain by applying your creativity to solve your life, to solve it for survival, to solve it for replication. But don't forget you're a spirit. Now, when you survive better and replicate better, you'll feel better. And if you remember that you're a soul spirit, that then there will be this other kind of satisfaction that comes, a kind of spiritual satisfaction. That's more than the satisfaction of getting paid and eating well. That's more than the satisfaction of sex or whatever, everything that comes with that. There's a satisfaction of almost like a job done well, of living well, of doing well at this game. It's like when you're doing well at The Sims. Is there ever beating the game, really? There is in this, because this is obviously infinitely more complex than The Sims. And so the business of spirituality, what we're doing here at the forefront of the evolution of mankind is that survival has become an automated system that trained monkeys can do, and that people can get involved in business at higher and higher levels and go up against the government and go up against the powers that be and play that game. And we are playing that game in our own way. But there's another game that's not being addressed, and that's the replication game. And actually, the invention of tools came a lot later than the growth of the prefrontal cortex, hundreds of thousands of years later. So it is theorized that the growth of the prefrontal cortex was actually the result of our need to communicate to win favor of mates. It was the communication that won favor of mates. Why? Because then there would be much more evidence of tools and the results of technology that are improved survival. But the growth of the brain came before those tools. Now, human history is largely just a big false, it's a lie. You know, nobody's talking about in the textbooks, but he's really talking about how the pyramids were built. Yeah, I was cutting out a little bit. Nobody's talking about Lemuria. Nobody's talking about Atlantis. Nobody's talking about how the pyramids were built. Nobody's talking about what's under Antarctica. It's all hidden. Nobody's talking about a lot of artifacts, giant skeletons and things. And, you know, if you just think with me for a second, the mating game and the ability to communicate is evolutionarily the weak link in everyone around you. They're all so smart when it comes to business, or there's such a spectrum. Everybody's trying to make it the same way, but nobody's trying to make it over here. Everybody's digging for the gold. They don't realize there's like a platinum reserve over here. There's like a uranium reserve over here. They don't know how to use it. They don't even know how to identify it. So we're over here hacking the genetic code, which is underneath the cultural conditioning, the acculturation. And so it appears like we're hacking the matrix. The matrix becomes definable. It becomes obvious when you start understanding the genetic behavior, because you see how people have been programmed mentally off of their genetic interests. That's the matrix. There's a matrix in people's minds that they're acting out and they're communicating out. And of course, then there's still a spirit. The spirit is neither the culturation and is neither the genetics. And so the more of reality that you see, the more spiritual it becomes, because you are not it. But the more you're not seeing it, the ignorance you have. A baby is not spiritual, a baby is ignorant. Yeah, it has purity and whatever. I heard an awesome story that was like, you know, the 5-year-old said to the 1-year-old, "What's God look like? I've almost forgot." Or something like that. Like he goes to the crib, it was 5-year-old to 2-year-old or whatever. And he's like, "Tell me, what does God look like? I've almost forgot, or I've forgotten." Something like that. The mom was overhearing it. Cool. So the kid said that. Great. Yeah, you forgot because you're in the matrix, but it took the matrix to learn how to communicate. It's an idealization. Let's develop a matrix that the child retains its innocence and its clarity of and learns an ability to communicate without being tainted and jaded, so that it can communicate God or whatever. That would be a very peaceful and great society. And maybe that's what we're evolving to, because when we look backwards, I think it gets worse. When we go backwards. Now, it may have happened in cycles, and maybe there was an ideal society that was destroyed and then we went back into chaos, but that's the nature of things. Nature is savage. And God is pristine. God is clear. God is well organized and orderly. It's order versus chaos. It's an evolution towards that. So the business of spirituality, you know, this is a new religion. This is a new form of spirituality, of worship, a new, it's like a new culture, really. And it takes from other cultures. So there's elements of it in other cultures. You would see it in other religions. And it's really just taking what works, because it's a kind of pantheism, but it's, you know, there's so many philosophies in it of survival and replication. I mean, there's so much in it. Who knows what it is? It's an attempt to express the truth. It's not an attempt to label it so that it can be packaged and sold. It's an attempt to express the truth as it's experienced and seen. And if it benefits you, then you keep showing up, then you pay for things, and your life gets better, and people start talking to you about it. It enriches your conversations, and the karma is spread through good conversations. So if I give you something that becomes good conversation that spreads or reduces your stress or reduces or enhances living in some way, then it's good karma and it just keeps spreading. And that is the business of spirituality. If you look at it. So all it is, the business of spirituality is communicating good things that put people's minds at ease, that, helps people cooperate. We would say evil spirituality is that, creates disharmony in people and makes them pay tithes because they feel bad about themselves. All right. So that's what I had to say there. I don't see too much activity. If you have anything going on in the audience, feel free to raise your hand or type it out. And, if you're catching the recording on this or anybody on YouTube, you could always come to the Zoom. Looks like there's a bunch of people on YouTube. Oh, there's a comment there. You're looking a lot sharper without the beard. Real gems being dropped. Yeah. Well, you've been out. You've not been around for a while, Salim. So come back, man. Come back. Where you been? What you been doing? I remember you. All right. And then follow, share, like, all that good stuff. Okay. Have we done it? What do we have? We have the IMC business module that I'm coming out with. It's going to be a 4-week training seminar on Tuesdays. It's going to start next Tuesday. So that means I need to drop a flyer or something for it. Get guys on it. And it's going to be a 4-week training on how I do business. 3 lectures basically with some homework on how to prospect, how to improve your business, basically what I've learned from Arash and my studies before him, Brian Cassell and everybody. And then on the 4th one, Arash is going to come in and I'll Q&A with him and he'll lecture on business. It'll just blow your mind money-wise. It's going to be $147. So if you want in on that, then just send that to me. And we also have the Beast Gathering called Kratos. It's October this month, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. So that's 9 days away. So you want to be coming to that, but you guys are coming to that. If you catch the recording, then go to IMC, like if you're on the recording for this, go to imcbase1.com, all spelled out, imcbase1.com. You can see, past products and everything. We're doing a lot of great things with the website. Apprentices, Zay and Jordan Amari, they built that website. And we're talking about adding a forum now with a world map on it. And, people got bios there. I removed a bunch of bios, but we may put them back. So we'll see. And of course, for me, yoga training and my silent flute training group, then go to ninthlim.com with the number 9. All right, let's see. The business potential becomes limitless, blah, 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 blah. Yep. That's right. That was a private comment. Okay, everybody. Thank you for arriving. If you have anything, I didn't see any hands up, so I think it's done, right? So I'm looking through. Cool. Mo, thanks for showing up. And everybody, I'll see you on next, depends on what program you're on. So I may see you sooner than later, right? Until the next time, namaste.